Welcome to my vegan kitchen. I'm Michelle. Burger season is here. Well, actually, any time of the year is burger season. So that's why I have an easy recipe for a plant-based burger. If you haven't subscribed, go ahead, hit that subscribe button, tap on that bell, and let's cook. So we're gonna make some burgers, some plant-based burgers, of course, because this is my vegan kitchen. I love a good burger, especially now that the summer's being kicked off with the holiday weekend. I don't know, for me, I only like burgers in the warm weather. Once it gets cold, I don't really care for it. So we're gonna make an easy plant-based burger, simple ingredients. You probably have them in your pantry right now. We're gonna use chickpeas mostly and mushrooms. We're gonna first start though by creating a binder. And when I say a binder, because this is vegan, we're not using real eggs. We're gonna use flax seeds, which this is flaxseed meal, this here. And I'm using water, about 5 tablespoons of water and a couple of tablespoons of flax seeds. And this is just ground flax seeds. I'm gonna place it in there. Give it a nice little stir. And the reason why I'm starting this first, because I need to give it some time to thicken up. I need to give it some time so the flax seeds to get really like gummy, so it creates that egg-like texture. So I want to start that first before I start putting the rest of my ingredients together. That usually takes about 3 to 5 minutes. So once I give it a nice little swirl, I'm gonna set it here on the side. All right guys, so now I have the next set of ingredients: garlic, red onion, and mushrooms. And I'm just gonna chop those before I move to the next step. Now, guys, I understand there are plenty of vegan options when it comes to burgers in your grocery stores. And I know there's some that are very close to what you're used to if you were a meat eater. And for me, even though they taste really good, and I'm not knocking them at all, for some reason, whenever I eat them, I end up getting the same reaction, the same bodily reactions that I would when I used to eat beef burgers, like meat burgers. So I tend to stay away from them. The problem is when I try to get vegan, plant-based, more of a plant type veggie burger, I just never like them. A lot of times they do black beans, and sometimes I find that it's just a little slimy. I don't know if it's just me. So I just started making my own by just putting together some really easy ingredients. And let me tell you, it is so easy to make. So I hope you really try this recipe, especially on this weekend. All right, let me tend to getting these vegetables chopped and move to the next step. Those onions got me a mess. I probably should have chopped them last. Ooh. I could barely see. Oh gosh. All right, now that we have all of that chopped, let's go to the stove. All right guys, so in my skillet, I have some olive oil just kind of heating up, just a little bit. I'm gonna add the onions, and we wanna add the onions first and get that nice and translucent. We wanna get that cooked through. But guys, don't worry, I will have all of the ingredients listed in the description box. Just kind of follow me now so you could get the gist of how to make this recipe. So now that I've given my onions about 3 minutes or so just to cook, I'm going to turn the flame up just a little bit, because now I'm gonna add in my mushrooms. And then I'm gonna add in the garlic. And the garlic you usually wanna always add in last, because you never want the garlic to burn, because it will make your meal bitter. I'm gonna toss that around, and we're gonna give that about maybe 6 to 8 minutes or so, around there, to really kind of cook and release the water from the mushrooms. So now that we've given our mushroom mixture time to cook, we're gonna add a little bit of liquid smoke, and that's just to give it like a nice smoky barbecue, type of smell and flavor, because you're not necessarily going to put this on the grill. You can, however, you may not want to put it on the grill, but you still want to have that, you know, that flavor of a smoky burger. Once we do that, just give it a nice toss around. It's already cooked, so there's not much to cook anymore. We're just gonna turn the flame off. We're gonna remove our skillet from the stove and just place it on the side. We just wanna allow that to cool down a little bit before we put it into the mixture that we're gonna make now. So come with me for the next step. All right, so here's my chickpeas. I'm just measuring out the amount that I need. And for me, I like to use dried chickpeas, but you can use the can also. I usually just use dry my chickpeas. I usually just use dried chickpeas. I soak them overnight, and then I cook them the next day with a little bit of salt. I place them in these mason jars and just save them in the refrigerator unopened for up to a week. Once you open them, you do have to use them in a couple of days. But I just find that it's more cost effective that way, and they just taste better to me. They're bigger, they're thicker, look how juicy they are. And for some people, I got a lot of comments on one of my last videos that chickpeas are usually hard and tough. When you cook them yourself, you can cook them to the duration that you want, and you can make them as soft as you want. So there's a little tip for you guys, but let me get about 1.5 cups into my measuring cup. All right, we're there. All right, so I'm just gonna pour my chickpeas, and I'm gonna do a double thing again because I think I got a little bit of the liquid in here, and I really don't want it into, I probably should have strained it, but sometimes I just be lazy. I just wanna get it done and over with, and I'm glad I did it this way because look at all that water I still left behind. Let me just pour that back in there because we could use that as aqua fava. We could use that for another recipe, so let's seal that back up. So now you're gonna use a fork or a potato masher to mash up your chickpeas. And you wanna mash it to where there's still some big pieces, some chunky pieces, and then there's some smooth pieces. So go ahead, use your muscles and get that all mashed up. So now that we've mashed the chickpeas, as you can see, come in so you can see, there's some mashed up pieces and there's some whole pieces still in there. Now that we have this texture, we're gonna add in our cooked mushroom mixture. And remember, we allowed that to cool down just a little bit, just to room temperature. It doesn't have to be like totally cold, but just, you know, where it's not piping hot. We're gonna place that right in there. We're gonna add some rolled oats to this. And you could do two things. You can use ground oat flour, or you could just use oat flour, or you could take your rolled oats and ground them. You don't have to go out and purchase oat flour. Just put it in a food processor and get it to the flour texture. Or you could just place it right in your mixture just like this. I have some rolled oats here. I have a little 1/2 cup. I like a chunky texture, so I'm just gonna pour this right in just like that. But do it to whatever texture that you feel you're comfortable with. So now, after the oats, we're gonna season it up. I'm gonna add in some mushroom powder. Some of these ingredients, some of these spices, you don't have to add them in, but if you have it, season it up. Season up your burger the way you would want it to taste. I find that the mushroom powder gives it like a nice base. You could also use cumin if you have that. I'm gonna put some garlic powder in here because you gotta have garlic powder. I don't know, burgers just taste good with garlic powder. I'm seasoning it like if I was seasoning up my ground beef. I'm gonna add some paprika, and I'm using smoked paprika. I'm gonna add some of that to it. Some black pepper, because I gotta add black pepper. And this is fresh ground black pepper, but use what you have. Let's pop this top, get that in there, some more. And of course, we have to salt it, all right? Add your salt. And add just enough right now. Once you make your patties, you're gonna taste it, see if you need to add more. Now, once you add all your spices, we're gonna add in some tomato paste. Once we get that in there, I'm not even gonna mix it up. Remember our flax eggs that we started with? That's what it looks like now. And actually I made it sit about 10 minutes and it's perfect. But because we're using chickpeas and chickpeas is very light in color, I like for my burgers to be a little bit on the darker side. So I'm gonna use some molasses. I'm not gonna use a lot, guys. Relax, relax. I'm not gonna go crazy with this. This is just gonna give it a nice, rich, browner color. Plus it's gonna add some unexpected flavor. So I'm adding this right to my little flax mixture and it's a drop. It's like literally a teaspoon. I'm gonna mix that in and see it changes the color right away. Now that's a burger. All right, see, it changes the color right away. And now I'm gonna add that right to my mixture. Ooh, you saw how that just plopped in? That's a binder. That's a good binder. All right, once we get that in there, we're gonna mix this all up. And I'm just using a smaller spoon. I'm not using my hands or anything, not that yet. I'm just gonna mix this all together really, really well. So take your time and make sure you get all the ingredients mixed in really, really well, especially the oats, because you want that oats to get nice and soft. So make sure you're getting it mixed in there, all right? So now that I got that nice and combined, I have one more ingredient that I have to add to this, some nutritional yeast. I like to add nutritional yeast to almost just about everything. It just really gives a just undeniably really good flavor. I don't know how to explain it. I know everybody said it has like a cheesy flavor. It just has a good flavor. I'm not gonna tell you it has a cheesy flavor in this. It just takes on a whole different flavor. It just adds niceness to it, just goodness. Again, I'm gonna mix that up. And while I'm mixing, I'm really giving the oats a chance to get really saturated with any liquid that's in here, because I really want it to get nice and soft before we cook our burgers. Now, if you used oat flour, you don't have to do that, because the oat flour will be already broken down. But because I used the rolled oats, which is really dry, that's what I'm trying to do here. All right, so I think this is all mixed up right now. I'm gonna let it sit for just a couple of minutes while I clean up. All right, so I let it sit maybe about 5 minutes or so while I cleaned up. And this is a beautiful texture that I have it now. So now it's time to make patties. And this is how I make my patties. I take a spoonful amount and I use the ring. This is just my little secret. Maybe somebody else is doing it, I don't know. I use the ring of a mason jar to get the precise shape and depth of a burger patty, basically. So I'm just gonna, this is how I normally do it. I put it in my hand, I put this here, I flatten it out, kind of fill up the ring. That's what I'm doing. And I'm using the back of my hand to kind of control it so it doesn't go over the ring size. Flip it over, make sure it's all in there, it's nice and formed. And we have ourselves a nice burger patty. So I'm gonna go ahead and make the rest of these, and then we're gonna cook them however you like. Now, like I said, you could place this on the grill if you want. You could fry it in a frying pan with just a little bit of oil, or you could pop it in the air fryer. I think I'm gonna put mine in the air fryer. You guys know I'm still watching my calories, right? My calorie intake. So I don't wanna start frying any kind of food. I just want to pop everything in the air fryer. It's been so easy for me to, make my meals so much easier to just pop it in the air fryer. So here we go, burger number 2. And this will make maybe about 4 to 5 burgers. Well, you know what? It's gonna make 4 burgers. The recipe will be for 4 burgers, all right? All right, let me finish and then let's cook this up and plate it up. And that's it, that's our recipe. So if you've made it this far in the video, I'm glad. I am making a simple side to go with my burger. At first, I wanted to do air fried potato wedges, And then I thought about it. Remember, I'm in a calorie deficit, and I was like, I really don't want to add that many carbs. You have the chickpeas, and then you'd have the sweet potatoes. So I decided to do a really simple cucumber side salad. Cucumbers are loaded with water, and that's what I need to really get the starchiness of the chickpeas and the bread through my digestive system. So I'm just gently slicing a couple of cucumber slices. I'm just gonna place them in there. And then I made this really delicious dressing. Guys, I will leave the ingredients in the description box. This is so good. It's basically cilantro based, and it looks like a green goddess dressing, but this on top of some cucumbers, when I tell you it is everything and then some. So I make it and I keep it maybe about 3 days, and this is usually my side with my meals. But the burgers are ready, so let's get it all plated up. I got these buns from Trader Joe's today, and they're new. They're a new item, and they're vegan. So sometimes it's really hard for us vegans to find hamburger buns, but these are vegan, and I could tell they're gonna taste good. They already feel really soft. So this is how I make my burger. I do a little bit of mayonnaise. So I'm using a little bit of Veggie, which is vegan mayonnaise, for those of you who get confused in the comments and like, why are you having mayonnaise if you're vegan? There is such a thing as vegan mayo. So I'm doing just a little bit, just to moisten that bread just a little bit. Plus it reminds me of when I used to have, a real hamburger. The bread always had like, mayonnaise, and that just tastes good to me. I personally love tomatoes on my burger. Make it your own. You don't have to do tomatoes. You could do tomatoes though if you love tomatoes like me. Lettuce, cheese. You could do cheese also. And for those of you who are wondering, yes, you can freeze the veggie burgers. So you could freeze them before you cook them, or you could freeze them after you have cooked them. So let me grab the burger. And this is what they look like fresh out the air fryer. And you see I made 4, so I have enough for the week. And I'm just gonna keep these wrapped and keep them in the refrigerator so I have, meals for the rest of the week. Or I can freeze them and have a burger anytime I need to grab a burger. So I added my burger right on top of my tomatoes, and then just a little bit of ketchup. This is about a tablespoon of ketchup. Ooh, I have to count every single calorie. And that is my burger, guys. Doesn't it look delicious? That's my burger. I'm not gonna bite into it because I don't wanna mess it up. Lately, I've been trying to save these beautiful pictures, or save these beautiful, this aesthetic look for the pictures for the thumbnail. But that's my burger, guys. It's absolutely delicious. I hope you try it. As you can see, this recipe was simple and easy, simple ingredients. You don't have to make it complicated, but make it your own. Thank you guys for joining me in my vegan kitchen. Don't forget to subscribe and join me again next time for another delicious, simple and easy plant-based meal. Have a good weekend. Bye, guys.